Hey, it's Huck, and I hope you can see me. I hope this isn't too dark. I'm using my smartphone because all attempts of using my computer and my regular camera are a big fail. And speaking of a big fail, I'm going to try to keep this brief, but this is going to be one last call for those take the time to watch this video to get on the horn and contact your senator and state representative and to say no to TrumpCare, this Senate bill that is probably going to be scored maybe by Tuesday or Wednesday by the CBO, and probably immediately within 24 hours of that score be voted on, probably maybe as early as Wednesday or Thursday of next week. To say that this is maybe the single worst bill to come through Congress in my lifetime is not an understatement. Now, I know a lot has already been said, and you can't go on any social media or turn on the TV to any news program without hearing a lot about this, so I'll try not to go into too much detail about it, but I think I've heard a few comments that probably nailed it pretty well. One was a comment I think that was made by Ezra Klein of Vox Media, when he said that TrumpCare, the Senate bill, has taken basically everything that was bad that people didn't like with Obamacare and made it much, much worse. But even that isn't going. Even that statement doesn't give justice to just how cruel and heartless this bill is. So just a few things to keep in mind. This bill cuts approximately $840 billion from the get-go out of Medicaid. Now, Medicaid is the nation's largest insurer. Something like 49%, roughly half of all children born are born under Medicare coverage. Something like 39% of all children in America are covered by Medicaid. 30% of all disabled people like me are on Medicaid. Now, I'm not on Medicaid myself. I have a policy through the exchange, through the Obamacare exchange. But altogether, there are approximately 75 million Americans on Medicaid. By far, that is the largest insurer in the nation. That's more people than are on, individual policies, group policies. It's more people than, are on Medicare by a long shot. And so this policy alone would strip about 1/4 of the funding to Medicaid. It would phase out, this Medicaid expansion that was brought about through Obamacare, through the Affordable Care Act. But beyond that, in 2025, it starts making deeper cuts. Now, to show you how devious this policy is, this policy, if enacted, would go into effect after the 2018 elections in November of 2018. It would be scheduled to go into effect in the year 2019. Now, there's a reason for that, because they don't want people to know just how bad this policy actually is until after the midterm elections in 2018. But like I say, it doesn't stop there. Remember that combined with the tax bill, the budget bill that Trump has outlined, this is only the first phase of Medicaid cuts. Like I say, under this Senate bill, this TrumpCare bill, it would strip $840 billion from Medicaid. That's about 1/4 of its funding immediately. beginning in 2019. Beyond that, it would start making deeper cuts after 2025. It would actually make deeper cuts into the Medicaid. So it's not only going to phase out all of the Medicaid expansion that came about under Obamacare, but it would start making deeper cuts to Medicaid in what had existed before. And that starts in 2026. But in addition to all of that, there is another $616 billion worth of Medicaid cuts that are proposed in Trump's budget bill. So combine the two, you're talking about more than $1.4 trillion hit to Medicaid. Now, of course, this policy also would defund Planned Parenthood for a full year. That's $500 million in Planned Parenthood funding nationwide. That is essential for both men and women, but largely for women, particularly in many parts of the country where there are no hospitals, or where people don't have insurance coverage, and they rely on Planned Parenthood for, affordable health care coverage. And, it's been said many, many, many times before, but abortion is such a small, small, small part of what they do. So that would be devastating. But just to go further with how bad this policy is, it's cruel in some really unusual ways. For instance, there had been talk that some blue states like California, like New York, just to name a few, if faced with this policy as law, might take steps of their own to shore up Medicaid with state funding. Now, not every state could do that, and it would come at a big cost. But this policy would penalize any state that does that by cutting their federal funding to Medicaid an additional 2% for any additional funding brought about by the state to compensate. Now, how cruel is that? This is going to be devastating for women's health care all around. This is going to be devastating to many, especially smaller or rural hospitals, which will probably be going out of business. This is going to be devastating to anybody who's a senior citizen, anybody who's getting older, anybody who's disabled, and for just tens of millions of children and parents of children. The other thing that this policy does that is mind-boggling is, if you ask a Republican lawmaker why, they need to do this, they will tell you in lockstep that Obamacare is in a death spiral, that it's failing. And yet, what they don't tell you is that the only part of Obamacare that is really failing, to any extent, are the individual plans on exchanges. Not the Medicaid expansion, but the 6 to 11 million people that at one time or another have been on the exchanges. I think currently it's around 11 million people that have a policy through the Obamacare exchanges, like I do. And in the states that have set up their own exchanges, and in a few others, the market has been relatively stable, and it's doing quite fine. In some counties, in about 40 counties around the country, spread out into about, number of states, there really is a problem. And the problem is all a result of the fact that the insurance companies are concerned and in some cases panicking because they do not trust Republicans and the Trump administration to follow through on the law. The law stipulates that these insurers were going to get certain payments, cost-sharing reduction payments, risk corridor payments. These were designed to assure that companies that keep premiums low, keep deductibles low, that they would get reimbursed for doing so. Also, assurances that any insurance companies that jump into these markets and find that they're losing money would be paid and compensated so that they don't end up, in the red. Those Republicans have been challenging those CSR, those risk corridor payments, in court. And one court agreed that the cost-sharing reductions, the CSRs as they're referred to, was not enacted in the proper procedure. In other words, all funding mechanisms have to originate with the House of Representatives, and in this case, it's a bill that originated in the Senate. And it's kind of a technical issue, but the fact is, when the ACA was written, originally it was written in the House of Representatives. Then the Senate took up the bill, and they made some changes to that bill. And one of the changes that they made was this cost-sharing reduction formula. So because it originated in the Senate, when the bill came back, generally after a bill is originated in the House, and then the Senate takes it up, and there are differences between the two bills, a lot of times what will happen is they set up a commission or a committee that basically puts this all together, and then, in other words, irons out the differences, and they re-vote on it. In this case, with the ACA, what happened was the House, seeing that much of their work had already been incorporated into the Senate bill, merely took up the Senate bill as it was and voted on that. So there was no conciliation process where they had to kind of mete out the differences between the two bills. That is, by the way, exactly that portion of the process is what Mitch McConnell is trying to do now. The difference is that when the ACA was argued, it was argued in both houses of Congress. It had months of hearings. It had over 167 Republican amendments that were adopted, had over 100 hearings in various committees, Finance Committee, Health Committee, and others. Whereas this bill was done completely behind closed doors in both the House and the Senate. There have been 0 hearings. There have been 0 amendments offered. And but now that there is a Senate bill, rather than try to pass this in the Senate and then work out the differences, the Republican plan is basically to put the Senate bill in front of the House, have them approve it, and boom, it becomes law as soon as Trump signs it. So they are trying to rush this through in the fastest possible time. And it is up to you and me to do something about it. Now, I know 4 very conservative senators, Rand Paul, Senator Mike Lee of Utah, it escapes me the other 2. 4 of the most conservative senators have come out saying that they're opposed to the bill in its current form, but that's just a sly tactic. You can bet your ass that these 4 will be on board when it comes time for a vote. The real way this bill is going to be defeated, if it is if what passes as a moderate Republican steps up and says no. And because there's 52 Republican senators, basically 3 need to say no. And 1 so far is on record as saying that he will not support this bill, and that's Dean Heller of Nevada. And that's only because Heller is a senator from Nevada who is up for re-election in 2018. And none of the other senators that we're talking about here are really in that position, that are in a potentially blue state up for re-election in 2018. And that's really why they put the 13 guys they had on this committee that wrote this bill. Because most of them, if not all of them, are either in safe blue states, or if they're in a purple state, they basically don't have an upcoming election. That's why you didn't see Pat Toomey on or Kasich, on this, or not Kasich. You did see Portman. Now Portman is up for re-election 6 years from now, so they assume that he's safe. People will have forgotten all about this by the time he comes up for re-election. So I urge you, if you haven't done so already, I have called Senator Portman's office 3 times. I've written 2 emails. I've contacted other senators as well, even outside of my state, although I know that's not probably going to have as much impact. But contact your senator, contact your congressional representative, even if they're a Democrat. If they're a Democrat, tell them that you stand with them against this bill. If they're a Republican, tell them that you will fight tooth and nail to see them not get reelected if they pass this bill. I've gotten a lot of pretty chilling comments and contacts over one of my recent videos. And I'm used to being called names and, the usual assortment of, right-wing name-calling type things. One fella even took portions of one of my videos and tried to poke fun of it, and posted a video using excerpts of my video. That was a video where I said that Republicans are responsible for killing more Americans than terrorists. And, aside from the comments that told me this is the type of comment that, inspired, the shooting in D.C. of Representative Scalise. First of all, I've never endorsed violence of any sort. I've done a number of videos about gun violence, about guns in general, and pointing out the danger of something is a far cry from, telling people to commit some violent act. I would never do that. But it's kind of like, if I point to a rattlesnake and say, hey, that can kill you, that doesn't mean that I'm giving you license to go and kill the rattlesnake. I'm merely pointing out the danger. And the purpose of that video, quite obviously, was to point out the danger of electing Republicans who do real harm to real people. Probably the most incredulous thing about this whole Senate bill is that the one aspect that you could attack about Obamacare, I think fairly, is that the that the exchanges are not working well. And of course, Republicans have taken to say, it's in a death spiral, it's not working, it's dead, as Trump says, which is not true. Republicans, if they wanted to, could work with Democrats who have for years offered to fix a number of things that would make those exchanges run smoothly, the markets more stable, and the costs come down. Republicans don't want any part of that, of course, have not brought any of those bills to the floor. They are doing everything in their power now to make sure that those exchanges fail. But even in doing so, that has nothing to do with the, like I said, at most we're talking about 11 million people that are on the individual market exchange. Has nothing to do with the, millions of people that are on the Medicaid exchange or the Medicaid expansion. And there's nothing failing about that at all. And yet, this Senate bill directly attacks the Medicaid expansion. This bill is intended to do two things. It's intended to cut in half, and that's essentially what it does, cut in half the number of people that are going to receive Medicaid in the future. That means that if you have a mom or a dad or a grandmother or grandfather that's in a nursing home, chances are 76% of old folks that are in nursing homes are on Medicaid coverage. They're no longer going to be able to get that kind of treatment. Families going to have to figure out a way to care for them at home, even if both parents are working and the kids are in school. It means that half of the children born in America are not going to have Medicaid coverage to cover those prenatal and maternity costs. You're going to be on your own. It means that nearly 40% of children in America who have Medicaid coverage, about half of those kids are not going to have coverage anymore. That's what this means. Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell and Republicans in general are doing everything in their power, while they have the power, to try to eat away at all of America's safety nets. We live at a time where the amount of difference between what the really wealthy earn and what the poor earn is at the widest gap we've ever seen in American history. Ever. We're beyond where we were in the 1920s, what started what eventually ended in being the Great Depression. And now, at this time, they want to pull the rug out from all of these people who are struggling. There are a number of things that would fix Obamacare, and I know I promised I would do a video highlighting 10 of them. But because we are in the 11th hour right now with this policy and its vote, I urge you that we need to contact senators now and every day between now and the vote. So if your senator is Mikulski from Alaska, if your senator is Heller, stay on him, because Republicans are going to put enormous pressure on him. Senator Collins from Maine, Senator Portman from Ohio, Senator Gardner, regardless of who it is, you need to make your voice heard, because someone you know and love depends on Medicaid, whether it's your son or your daughter or your brother, your grandchild, whether it's your neighbor, whether it's your grandmother, whether it's your best friend's kids. Somebody you know is disabled who depends on Medicaid. We can fix Obamacare. And, some of the things that I would like to see done would would go a long way to strengthening everybody's health insurance. And when I say strengthen, I mean lower the costs and lower the deductibles. And there are things that could be done. The Republicans are in no interest whatsoever of doing anything that doesn't mean dismantling this safety net. So we need to start there. And I promise I will post a video giving, about 10, maybe a dozen things that could be done that would make both the individual and the group exchanges, if you get your health insurance through your employer, there are things that could be done and should be done to make that more affordable. I know that a lot of people that watch my videos feel that we should go, to a sort of Medicare for all, universal health care system like much of the rest of the world has. And I am for that too. But realistically, we're not there yet. We're not going to be there until we have a completely different set of representatives in Washington, D.C. And that's just a fact. So for the time being, we need to work on what, is doable. And one of the things that is doable at not much additional cost would be to straighten out the Affordable Care Act in a way that really does help everyone. And so I'll post that video, hopefully, if not before the vote is held immediately afterwards. But this is essential. We need 3 Republican senators to vote no, because Vice President Pence will be the deciding vote if it's a tie. So they need 50 votes. They have 52 Republicans. We need 3. We need 3 to say no. Right now it looks like Heller is on board. There's a lot of talk that Mikulski and Collins, essentially because of the Medicaid cuts and because of the defunding of Planned Parenthood, that they are leaning against it. But you know that they are first and foremost party line voters. And I have a feeling that they may very well want to take one for the team so that Heller can cast his no vote and he can keep his seat, where these other 2 don't have that concern. So only enormous pressure is going to stem the tide here. So I thank you for watching. I hope that you will heed this call. Inform yourself. There's not enough time here for me to go into all the details of just how atrocious this bill is and how it would, I haven't even talked about how the average premium and deductible would go up. Just to give you an example, if you were my age and you had the type of health care policy I have on the exchange, even without my health problem, my costs would, if I was earning, let's say, $16,000 a year, my policy, I would get a smaller subsidy than I'm getting now, and my deductible would go up to about $7,000 a year. That's the reality. That's what they're talking about. That's why I say they have taken everything that's bad about Obamacare that people are complaining about and made it much, much worse, while giving $52 billion worth of tax cuts to the richest 400 Americans. You heard that right. $52 billion in tax cuts to America's richest 400 Americans. That's incredible. This is a huge, huge tax cut for the top 2%. Anybody earning over $200,000 or more is going to get at least, several $1,000s back. If you're a millionaire, you're going to get at least $55,000 back. And if you're a billionaire, like the Koch brothers or like Trump himself, you're going to see a windfall from this. So I urge you, please, don't sit on your hands on this one. This time your voice really does need to be heard. If not for yourself, for someone that you love who really needs your voice to strengthen theirs. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you again real soon.